Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back, family, to Appalachia's Homestead. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing well on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Very warm. Haven't been on video for a couple of days. Been very, very busy. Give me a hug. Happy Sunday. How you doing? You doing okay? It's busy out there, isn't it? Lots of things happening every single moment of your life. I mean, how do you keep up with it? So on my last video, so let's get right to this, because I really want to just say what I need to say in one shot and we move on. I may have to turn back on the air. It's a little warm today, and I'm going to put my animals, some of them rotation or back up or whatever here in a little bit, then I'm going to hustle back to church, right? We've got a really good sermon tonight that's going to be preached, so I don't want to miss it. So I want to talk to you about something. And I've been praying on it, and I have had counsel about it, talked to James about it, talked to a pastor about it, talked to my elders about it, a couple close friends that I think have pretty good discernment, and I was curious to what they thought or felt, or, you know. And I think it's taken me a couple of days to get to the point where I'm willing to talk about it today. This has never happened to me before, so let me tell you right now, I'm just sharing an experience with me, or an experience that I've had, and I think that it's important that you do what's best for you. And if you have questions or concerns, to pray about it. This is not for me to persuade anything or anyone, other than I really hope, and I've said this repeatedly, I hope that you see that walking closer to God and repenting and accepting the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior is, folks, what else do you have now, right? We're being separated. I do believe that. I don't claim to be anything other than a woman sitting here in her Sunday dress about to, feed some cows and make sure dinner's going and hopping to church and hopping back. So I'm sharing something with you. As you can see, I'm very cautious about what I'm saying and how I deliver this, because to be honest with you, I think this is one of the most important experiences of my life, and this has never happened before to me. So some of you are going to probably debate this or have your input, and that's fine. That's great. And I'm probably going to get critiqued or bashed or whatever. I mean, I put up a short this morning while James was driving from me going to an antique store last week near Townsend, Tennessee. Just something fun, and we had a great time. I didn't spend any money. I didn't find anything that I wanted to get. There's one or two things I'd like to get, and I kind of think about, but people are going to criticize you no matter what you do. And I knew that very quickly in terms of something like this. And, we'll just press forth with it. I also think that it's important for me to share this. So here's the situation. So the other day, today's Sunday afternoon, 5 days ago, I was down at the other side of my property towards my house. And you've seen, if you watch my videos, the area that I'm talking about, oftentimes you see that's where a lot of my deer, it's where my deer are, my does. It's a beautiful area. That's where all the little fawns are being born over in the woods over there. It's a very special place. It's in the north, and it's beautiful. And it has a spiritual aura about it, because it is just beautiful, right? So I was finishing up the barn, went to the house, and I got down to the bottom of the driveway, and the car was kind of cool, and I had gotten a text, and I texted the person back. And one of the last things that I said in the text, this is on text, okay, is that I said, this battle is not ours anymore. And this is, if you've kept up with social media, especially over the last 10 to 12 days or so, week and a half, 2 weeks or so, it's been pretty ferocious, vicious, a lot of division, a lot of infighting, and it's from everywhere. Okay, it is what it is. And so I typed that and I sent it, and I was just looking at a couple of things real quick. I was about to go into the house, And I looked to my left out this window right here. But it would be over there, okay? I'm facing, the area I'm talking about is actually just right over there and down. And I saw something. And it startled me. And it overwhelmed me. And I'm the closest thing that I can describe this as is a vision. I've certainly expressed concerns and opinions and things like that on this channel, and I've talked about a couple of times where I've had dreams, or I've, you feel like the Holy Spirit's moving you to do something and you don't know why you're doing it at the moment, but a month later, a year later, 5 years later, you go, oh, that's what God was doing. Well, I've talked about that. I think that is perfectly in line with a lot of y'all, but I've never had this happen before. And I've been very hesitant to talk about it because this has kind of rocked my world, and I know it's serious, at least I feel it is. And when things like this happen, you wonder, am I losing my mind? Maybe, but now I don't think so. So I look to my left, and over the line of trees, which is very vast, I saw some form of a being. Now, it didn't come down from the sky. It wasn't like I saw it fall down from the sky. It was already above the trees. And it was like it was coming down over the tree line and was landing. And I'm going to describe it to you because some of you are going to go, I think you're going to possibly go 2 or 3 different ways with this. I already have my answer, I'm pretty sure. So the main thing that I don't want is to be afraid to talk about it, because I feel it is in some form a message, and I don't think God's going to give me if I think God's going to give me a vision, do I think God's telling me to shut up about it? I've thought about it for 4 or 5 days now and talked to some good people about it, and I don't think so. So I looked up over the tree, and the best way that I can describe this to you, so bear with me, okay? Because I still have questions and I may never get the answers. It may be something where I won't ever get all the answers. I just need to understand the message. You could just, okay, first of all, it's impossible to describe this because I've never seen anything like this before in my life. And I don't think possibly you have either. The first thing that came to mind was that it was an angel. Whether it be an archangel or whether it be a fallen angel, I'm still up in the air on that. James has his opinion on it, but I do have a tidbit to kind of lean you possibly in one way. You can see I still you can question some of the things. It's so unbelievable. But it was black. It was not white. There was no color. You could see all texture, specifically of wings. So it looked like almost like a human being coming over in the shape of a human, but it had massive wings, detailed wings. I raise birds. I've raised all sorts of fowl, from hundreds and hundreds of chickens to turkey to guinea to geese. So I'm very familiar with lots of different textures and looks and colors and the layering of feathers. And I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this. It was the most unbelievable caped feathering, even in its darkness. And, James asked me, he said, was it more of like a shadow? And I said, it could have been, but it happened so fast that it's hard for me to know. I didn't see any armor, no color, no fire, nothing. And it was coming over towards me, like it was going, and it was coming down on its right foot, and it had a sword. And when I tell you how massive this thing is, there's no way for me to describe it I told James, I said, I think what startled me the most was the size. Like I told him, and I keep saying it, I said, I've been to, movies in the couple in the IMAX theater or something impressive. Imagine all the movies that are supposed to be visually unbelievable to you. We could come up with several over the last 10 years or less. nothing compares to this. You can believe it if you want. You don't have to believe any of this. And I'm watching this thing kind of, it's like it's already coming down and descending onto the earth and landing right as it's starting to land on its right foot. It didn't talk, but I heard a message. Or at least that's the best way I know to describe it. Because James asked me, he said, because he's the first person, it freaked me out so bad. I called him on the phone. He was driving and he was in a dead spot. When he got home, he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." And we went back on my phone on the timing of all of this. And this is how it gets even more interesting. But the message that I feel, I don't feel, I know, I heard is, we are here. I didn't feel scared. I wasn't intimidated. I did not feel threatened. I did not feel danger from it. But I, you know how you're sitting there and you're like, am I dreaming? You know, it's that moment of, I don't even know how to describe it because I've never had this happen before. And the interesting thing, I will say this tidbit, is when I blinked and then it wasn't there anymore. And so I started looking around, and in the sky was a black buzzard, and it was circling. Now, if you're native, some of you might say that, question, could that have been a shapeshifter? Could it have been, you know, there in out west, you obviously have what some people would call skinwalkers. And so I go there because I think some of you might. I did not feel an evil presence. And at all. No threat. And that is very important because that's one of the first things the pastor asked me. He said, "How did it make you feel?" And I said, it didn't scare me. It didn't threaten me. It didn't do anything like that. I said, I almost want to think that it would, had I continued with what I was seeing, it's almost like I felt like it was going to just sort of take its wing, which was honestly the size of a school bus, and kind of just push me to the side. That's how I feel, and I hope that's correct. So because I didn't have an answer initially in terms of what's happened, I talked to James when he got home. I went to a pastor that evening, and I spoke with both who I call my elders, and they are amazed by it, had a lot of questions by it, and nobody that I have spoken to feels that this was a demonic presence. One person asked me if I thought it was something fallen, and I said, well, it could be. I said, but the thing is I didn't feel a smothering or a fear or frightened. It was, I'm still overwhelmed by it, by what it is, but number two, the size. Okay. It was rather peaceful, to be honest with you. It was, and when you have the voice of, or the message of, we are here, I could take that several different ways. So and you may too. So I'm still praying on it and thinking about it. And every time I got pulled back from discussing this with you, I waited to go to church today to get my answer on whether or not I actually wanted to make a video about it. And, ironically, today's message really dove into the spiritual realm of what people have been facing for many years, and especially now. And I don't want to have that fear. So I'm still questioning things about it, but here, and James and I have been going over this for hours. We talked about it before church, after church, at lunch, here, whatever. And here's what I want to say. I don't have the answers. Please pray on it if you do. But I want to say that, I told James, I said, whether it was let's call it a, quote, good angel or bad angel, quote, whatever. the thing that I'm taking away the most is the message or vision of the spiritual warfare that is happening, I think, and the spiritual warfare that is coming, and what this world's going to go through. And I'm going to tell you what right now. The one thing that I am absolutely, this is making my temperature rise already with the temperatures. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be around a war that would involve such unbelievable things. Remember, I texted probably a minute, 2 minutes maybe. Prior to seeing this, I wrote on text, the battle is no longer ours. And I think in terms of the level I'm speaking of with that, I think I got my confirmation. We have an important part here in mission, and that is to do the work that we are called to do for God, to bring more people to God. But to feel or think that we can compete with the level that God has warned us about, I'm telling you, no. This is why it's important to put your personal battle and beefs down and to understand you are being called away from the world to get you right. Because if you are being called like that and you are using your discernment, you have a critical role right now. It's understanding what that is. So I've gotten a huge sense of peace with this as well, because I think as mothers especially, dads too, but we're fighting battles every single day that honestly we don't need to be focusing on anymore. And we need to be telling everyone that we know how real this really is. So the details of what exactly, I can't tell you that I fully know. I just know that I felt no danger, no threat, no harm. I think because it was black, some people want to think that it's a dark force. And maybe it was, but it wasn't coming from me. It wasn't trying to get me. James thinks it was something positive, sending the message of continuing to do your work and to believe and to share the news and that God is with you. I like that, but I just want to say, I told him, I said, I think the point of the vision, if I can call it that, is how real this really is and how massive. Folks, it took me 2 days to stop talking about the size of it, and I'm still talking about it. I can't impress that upon anybody else enough. I mean, if you've ever seen, and I hate to compare it to something like this, but I'm going to. I told James, I'm like, do you remember the movie several years ago with Naomi Watts and King Kong? How big they made King Kong, his hand, and we're talking huge. Huge. So I'm wanting to share this with you because I don't want to have any fear in my life. I want us to walk without fear. And if this helps somebody to be bolder and braver and more courageous in their walk with God, or to help them understand how important they are right now and how big and how raging this battle is, you're seeing it amongst mere humans. People turning on each other left and right. You don't know what's real or not real, do you? You don't. Half the comments that I get at this point anymore, I question if are they trolls? Are they bots? Are they AI? This is what I'm saying. I feel like this has slapped me back to, there's not too many things that are real, little sister. But this is real, and we are here. And yes, this is happening. Or the massive battle is yet to come. So you could go several ways with this. It's a massive food for thought. I hope this video finds you well. I hope I haven't freaked anybody out. I've had more reservation in terms of talking about this, even with my own husband, than I've ever, because we were talking about it, and I said, when's the last time I ever had anything that I took 5 or 6 days just to think about before I really talked about it? He said, I don't know of anything. I'm like, I know. So I've just had to come do it. Folks, be on your knees. I don't know what's going to happen when, and neither do you. All right, we don't know the timing of everything. But I think the urgency to get things right as much as you can, where and how you can, so you can be that pillar for others. Folks, if it's not calling your name right now, pray on that, because I think, there could be something deceiving you to make you think that you're not supposed to do this or you're not supposed to do that. And folks, there's a spiritual world out there that is raging. And I want you on the good side of it. And I want to be on the good side of it. And there's only one way to be on the good side of it. And it's going to continue. Like, subscribe, and share. Pray, prep, and be peaceful. I honestly don't know what else to say. But this is why I haven't really filmed a whole lot in the past couple of days, because I wanted to focus on thinking about it, praying about it, doing hard work. I tend to really talk to God a lot when I'm working, doing a lot of pressure washing and cleaning stalls and doing all that, because you just put the phone down, or you put on a sermon and you work and you go. And I feel a certain closeness during that time. And that's what we've really been focusing on. So I hope this message finds you well. I hope you receive it in the manner in which I hope it's intended to be sent to you for or from. It's not about me, but I've never had this happen before. This is a different realm. And I'm going to go with the message of how overwhelming things actually are, and that we need to be doing all the things that we can within our own little form of power as a human and as God's children. I love you. Like, subscribe, and share. Pray, prep, and be peaceful. More videos coming up for you this week. July 4th is coming up. I hope you have a lot of special plans. Folks, be living your life. Do the things that matter in terms of your preparedness. Spiritually first. Financially, yes. Get right with your family and friends and your communities. All the things we've talked about for so many years. But as I heard this morning, you can pay your house off, you can pay your car off, you can pay your credit cards off, you can live debt-free, you can have all the money in the world, but in the blink of an eye, it's probably not going to mean anything for you if you don't have the most important thing right first. It can all just go away. We've got many examples of that over the recent years. So get right. I love you. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening. And if you have questions, I don't know if I'll be able to tell you more than what I've told you. If something changes, or if I come to a different conclusion, I'll share that. But I wanted to let you know what I feel I'm supposed to tell you now. I hope I achieved what was asked of me. I love you. I'll see you in the next video.